Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your Daily Dose. I'm your host, Alize, and this is the Daily Dose where you already know we be doing the most. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because why not? You'll love me. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you do, it will help me out a lot. If you have any personal questions or anything that you would like to ask me, just email me at alizemillis6@gmail.com. And the rest of my information will be in the link of the description. I'm not as on social media the way I should be, but I am going to be coming out with a TikTok that's going to be really talking about a lot about different things regarding mental health. Well, probably two topics, mental health and manifesting. And I feel like those actually go hand in hand with each other. I hope you guys could see me because yeah, I really hope you guys can see me because I want to be seen. I really want to be seen. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I'm too light. I ain't even that dang light. Hold on. I'm a little chocolate, okay? So anyway, today I'm going to be talking about major depressive disorder. Well, which is about depression, okay? And also I'm going to be showing you guys my room towards the end because I left it like this for a reason. I want people to know what it feels like to not even just feel like, but know what basically happens when you're going through a depressive state. Okay, I'm going to be breaking down the difference between sadness and depression. And I'm also going to give you guys the website, so it will be in also the link of the description below. But I'm going to try to just say it in here, so just follow along. And I feel like this can actually help someone out tremendously because I feel like a lot of people should hear about this and we should talk about this more. Also, I'm going to be explaining what depression is and the symptoms, and basically I'm going to be telling you guys my experience and what it's like living with major depressive disorder. So first, I want to start off by saying this. If this may trigger you or you don't want to hear this, click off this video right now. This is to educate people, so people who don't really understand depression or want to know if you are going through depression or if you have it, this video may help you. However, okay? I'm not a therapist. I'm not a therapist either, okay? I'm not a psychiatrist, baby. That is not what I am. So just make sure you're not sitting here saying, I was listening to this girl, The Daily Dose on YouTube, and she told me that I'm depressed. Like, okay, no. Okay. You need to go to therapy, or you need to seek a psychiatrist in order to know what you have, because everyone is different. We are not the same. Okay, baby. So anyway, I also have my computer, so I do have it with me, and I'm trying to see if I could put it just a little bit closer. Oh, I can actually, so I don't have to be reaching because my back hurt. I have kyphosis, and if you guys want to know what kyphosis is, go watch my other video. I talk about kyphosis and stuff like that. So anyway, hold on, give me 1 second, child. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so what is depression? Now I want to say this, okay? I do want to talk about this before I even get into it. In my last video, when I was talking about my depressive state and what I normally go through when I'm depressed, I said that depression, I don't know if I said it, but I think I did say that depression and major depressive disorder wasn't the same. I was actually wrong. Depression and major depressive disorder are actually the same. There's just different levels of depression. So what I was researching was there's 3 levels of depression, actually. Okay. So we'll get into that because I really didn't go and look at that. Okay. I just wanted to get down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so I have my computer here. So where I had got this information, because I'm not giving y'all just information out my ass, I got this information from the internet. Okay, so when I was researching it, the first one was depression, which is major depressive disorder. www.mayoclinic.org. Once again, that is www, baby, dot Mayo Clinic, okay, like mayonnaise, mayoclinic.org. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading what it's talking about. Then I'm going to be like doing a little spin-off and telling y'all what I think about it. And, you know, because I do agree with what it's talking about, of course. Okay, so let's get into it. So, depression, major depressive disorder. Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, okay? Also called major depressive disorder, or clinical depression. It affects how you feel, how you think and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as if life isn't worth it, okay? More than just bout of the blues, depression isn't a weakness and all that other stuff. Okay, so anyway, look. So basically, when you are going through a depressive state, and we're going to get into this because I know what y'all going to say, because in the last video, I did talk about how sadness and depression are not the same, and they are not. But it's a feeling of sadness, okay? It's a feeling. So it's not, you not really sad. It's like the feeling of sadness, but it's more of, I wish I could really break it down because it's not the same, but we gonna break it down. We gonna break it down. Don't worry. I got y'all, period. So anyway, it's like, it not only just affects you mentally. Depression doesn't just affect you psychologically. It affects you physically as well. And that's something I didn't really know either, but I started to learn how when I get depressed depending on the season, and normally when I get depressed, it's around fall time, okay? So you do have seasonal depression, and that is something that I was told that I had when I was seeing when I actually started going to, not therapy, but it was kind of similar. I want to say it was, but the girl was like becoming a psychologist. I don't know, but anyway, it was provided by Job Corps. So I'm just gonna say, go ahead, girl, you was a therapist. But anyway, it basically not only just affects you mentally, but it also affects your physical state. You don't want to do certain things, not getting out of the bed. You don't want to work out. Like if you know your normal routine and you want to exercise, you don't have the interest of exercising. Your normal routine, if you don't want to eat, some people don't want to eat. And sometimes it depends on who you are as a person, because some people will not eat when they get depressed and they have a lot of weight loss. Then other people will eat when they get depressed and they will have a lot of weight gain. So it depends on you as an individual. But not only is it just affecting you mentally, but it's also affecting you physically. And you start to have physical problems depending on who you are as a being, you know. And when you have loss of interest in activities, you don't want to do nothing. You don't want to brush your teeth. You don't want to shower. You don't want to see anybody. And you start to feel like you start to close yourself off. And we start to get into that a little bit on later when we start to talk about the symptoms. So understand and know that depression is major depressive disorder, which is also known as MDD. So, but also, like I said before in the beginning, there is different levels of depression, and depending on who you are, if you know that you may be feeling this way, or if you know someone who is going through something like this, recommend that they do see a therapist and understand that going through depression is not something that is easy. In fact, depression can not just only lead to only just physical problems, but you can also feel like you want to end your life. That's where suicide comes in. Suicidal thoughts, you feeling like you're not worthy of being here, you feeling worthless, you feeling like, why am I here? You feel hopeless. All these type of things come in play. So remember that therapy, which is also long-term treatment, is going to help you get through that depression. Also, if you do want to take it up a notch and do psychotherapy, which is also going in, you know, being provided medication and stuff like that. I used to take quinine for major depressive disorder. When I was depressed, I was actually diagnosed after I had tried a suicide attempt. I believe I told you guys before, I tried to commit suicide. and I went into a mental institution. So I was mentally institutionalized for within, I want to say 52 hours, 72 hours. I was mentally institutionalized, and so that's how I was diagnosed with depression. They didn't even tell me until I actually seen the psychiatrist. And he basically was letting me know, like with all the symptoms that I had, I was telling him how I was feeling and stuff like this, and how I was feeling worthless, suicidal thoughts. And I've had this for many years, okay? I just never really knew what it was until now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go into what are the symptoms. So, although depression may occur only once during your life, people typically have multiple episodes. During these episodes, symptoms occur most of the day, nearly every day, and this may include: you have feelings of sadness, emptiness, hopelessness, like I mentioned before, also angry outbursts. I myself have a lot of angry outbursts when I'm depressed, and I notice like when I get depressed and I get into a deep depression, I get very angry, I get upset, I don't want to really talk to people, so I tend to isolate myself from other people. I don't talk to my friends, I turn my phone off, or I just don't want to be bothered because I know how I'm getting. And because I'm going through this episode, I don't want to take out what I'm going through on other people, because majority of the time we really don't know why we're actually depressed. It could be because of something that may have happened to us years ago, and we just are unconsciously aware that we're actually thinking these thoughts, or it's just there. We're not really aware of what's going on unconsciously, because like I said before, when I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, I was saying that those suicidal thoughts had started to come back because an individual had triggered me. And you also want to be very careful of how you approach a person who is depressed, who goes through depression. Because it's not, you don't just want to approach them any kind of way. Don't approach them like you trying to quiz them. Don't approach them like you trying to study them. You trying to let them know. Just approach them as a friend. Approach them as somebody, you know, if it's your partner, approach them in a loving manner and just say, hey, you know, like ask like, what's going on? Are you okay? Is there anything that I can do that will help? And like I said, don't be like, hey, you need to go to therapy, because if you don't go to therapy, you're going to be depressed for life. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So please don't. Also irritability or frustration. Okay, we also have loss of interest, like we said, in pleasure of normal activities. You will not want to do even such as sex. You're not going to want to have sex. If you, we all grown on this channel. When you depressed, I don't know, everyone's different, but I'm gonna be real. Like when you're depressed, you're not going to want to do anything. You're not going to want to have sex with your partner. Your partner going to want to get jiggy with it, and you just going to be like, no, like I'm not in the mood. Sleep disturbances as well. This can also go into whether you are, depending on the individual, you will sleep long periods of time. For very long periods. Like me, I work 5 days throughout the week. However, I'm always tired. I'm gonna just get that out the way. But when I'm very depressed, I sleep a lot. I sleep excessively. I sleep more than the normal average person would. Like Friday through Saturday, I would have been asleep. I wouldn't even have done this video. And the reason I'm actually feeling a lot better, I want to say. But however, when I was depressed, I didn't upload any videos, because when I go through that, it's like, it's not easy to just get up and just say, okay, this is what I want to do. You have to, I'm not going to lie, sometimes you have to force yourself to get out of it. Okay. But yes, this is also, going back into it, this is also another one as well. Some people lose sleep, some people don't sleep, that's where insomnia comes in. Okay, if you don't know what insomnia is, it's you can look up the definition, but it's lack of sleep. Like you just don't, like you're up all the time, you don't really sleep like the normal person would actually be able to go to sleep. You have difficulty falling asleep like the average being. Not the normal. I don't want to say the normal. I don't like how that sounds. That sounds disrespectful. The average being. There we go. Okay. So, see, exactly. Including insomnia or sleeping too much. Okay. So tiredness, lack of energy, also anxiety. That's one thing I wanted to point out, because I noticed that when I was in my depressive state, I want to say I'm now coming out of it. I want to say a little bit by little, just by, you know, trying to get myself out of it. But when I was in my depressive state, when I went to the store, normally when I go to the store, you know, I just go in, I shop, I get things that I need or things that I want or things that are important or whatever the case may be, things that, you know, I'm going to eat and stuff like that, of course, you know, for my healthy regime. So one thing I had noticed was I noticed that when I went to the store, I had a lot of anxiety. I felt like people were looking at me, or I felt like I didn't really want to be around people. I didn't even want to be in the store. I wanted to just get what I needed and just to go, because I felt this hot feeling that was coming over my body. And when I have anxiety, so when I have anxiety, I have a hot feeling that comes over my body, and it feels like I start to get sweaty, and I start to just assume, like, have these pre-assumptions of who's watching me, or am I being talked about, or people saying things. And these are things that you might be thinking while going through this. So if you know anybody who is going through this, these are the symptoms to watch out for and to look out for. And also, please remember that I'm letting you know, just because you want to turn your phone off for the whole day or a couple of days does not mean you're depressed. People need to stop associating sadness with depression, because it's not the same. Okay. And we're going to get into that. And I'm going to actually have proof of why sadness and depression are not the same, because I actually had a debate about this with two people, and they think sadness and depression are the same, and they're not. And it's actual proof out there that it's not. However, you will have the feeling of sadness, like it said earlier. Don't get that confused. It's a feeling of sadness. Sadness is a normal emotion. Depression is not normal. That is a psychological mental illness, once again, because that is a chemical imbalance within the brain. We will also be going through what that is neurologically, a little bit, because I got to go back and read some of it. But they had a little bit breakdown of that in there. Okay, going also back into the symptoms, slowed thinking. We have slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements. So when I get depressed, some of my friends might think like, damn, you're not listening to me, or you're not even, you not even there. Major depressive disorder also goes into the, it also, not only does it affect you mentally, like we stated before, it affects your thinking pattern, because you might be slow. Some people might be different. Actually, some people might be more, like they have these thoughts that are racing in their minds, and they're not able to concentrate on what you're saying. And that's something that I wasn't really actually looking out for when I was speaking to an individual that I know of. And this woman, I noticed that she has the same thing I have. And I'm over here trying to be like, well, let me have a conversation with you. But she talking about this, or she in a whole nother. And I'm like, wait a minute, Alize, this is the same thing you do. You need to just relax, And this is what happens when, that's why a lot of people, like I said, you have to be willing to understand an individual who is going through this, and remember that you must be able to take your time. It's not saying that it's an excuse, but have patience with people who have this, who have depression. Okay, so slow thinking and speaking. Like I said, myself, I get slow. I'm like, oh yeah, what? What are you talking about? And then, a lot of people just don't understand it. A lot of people don't even believe this is real, but I do. So this is my channel. We're talking about it. Anyway, bye. So feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame. So then you will start to see that a lot of past things that have happened and have occurred in your past will start to reoccur unconsciously. Keyword unconsciously, because subconsciously, remember, if I had explained subconsciously, I believe I had a video explaining why. Also, this was something that Bob Proctor talked about. Manifesting is through the subconscious mind. The subconscious is what's manifesting everything into your reality. So subconsciously, what you're thinking or what you have believed is what's going to show up in your reality. Okay. And also, it's science behind that as well. Because subconsciously we're not aware of what's going on. Okay, consciously we know what's going on. That's the 5 to 10%. Subconsciously is the 85 to 95%, but I'm gonna say 95 to 100, because that's what it is. Okay. And because that's what it is, subconsciously, we're not aware that what we're doing in our actions and our habits, that's where all that comes from, is what we've been thinking, what we've been allowing to, that's why you hear a lot of people like Neville Goddard. He talked about inner thought conversations, how having inner conversations with yourself, being able to be conscious and aware of what you're thinking at all times, because you never know. Unconsciously, you may still have those limiting beliefs, as they would call it, unwavering in your mind. So we start to have past failures from the past, and we start to blame ourselves for things that we have went through in our past, or we fixate on things that are no longer in existence. And the reason I say it's no longer within existence is because it's not in the present moment. If whatever is in the past is in the past, it does not exist within the present, but we allow it to exist within the present because we're so fixated on it. And with people like myself and others who have depression, we fixate on those things unconsciously. So that's why it's very important for us to practice affirmations. I say it's very important for us to, talk it out with a therapist, or as well as do a daily journal. And that's something that I actually started to do, and I'm going to do right after I do this video. Also, trouble thinking, going into concentrating. So once again, if a person has trouble thinking, if they have trouble concentrating on a topic or what's going on, be patient with the individual. It is not something that you could just be like, oh, you ain't concentrating, you ain't listening to what I'm saying. Look, maybe Jane Doe don't want to hear about what you got going on. Jane Doe trying to figure out, she want to sleep right now. Jane Doe don't even want to talk to you right now. So you talking to Jane Doe, and you trying to tell Jane Doe about what happened with John Doe down the street, telling her that John Doe was with Lucy D, and Jane Doe don't give a damn, baby. She not hearing that. She like, okay, look, her mind is not fixated on what you got. Jane Doe trying to heal herself. She going through a whole depression. You just coming at her, and you just talking, and Jane Doe just, and you just talking and just talk, so concentrated. Also, decision making. People who are depressed, indecisiveness comes in. Remembering things. Like, I forgot what I did, like, what, two seconds ago. Not right now, but like, I remember I was like, wait a minute. Wasn't I supposed to do something? Like, I didn't even remember I did something. Or I was talking to a friend of mine, and I didn't remember I said something. And I was like, I didn't say that. And she was like, yes, you did. And I was like, no, I didn't. And she was like, yes, you did. So also remembering things also goes into that. They also say blueberries do help with remembering things and stuff like that, like with your memory. So I believe blueberries will also help as well. Frequent to reoccurring thoughts of death and suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts or suicide. Like I had mentioned, that's why I was mentally institutionalized, and I tried to commit suicide because I wanted to die. Now, I'm just going to flat out say it. I wanted to die because I was depressed, and I wasn't really knowing why I was depressed. I didn't know really. It was something that triggered me, but it was like I said, within that moment of depression and having that trigger can really lead a person to actually committing suicide. It could really lead a person to actually harming themselves because they don't feel like anyone cares. They feel like they're less than. We feel like we're less than. It's this type that, we feel like no one cares. So we isolate ourselves from people. And these are not excuses, guys. This is real life-ish. This is real life stuff. So please understand and remember that when you're dealing with someone who does have major depressive disorder, it's very, very be mindful that you must be patient with an individual. And if you see any symptoms of this within yourself or anyone else, please recommend therapy, because that's exactly what I decided to do. I decided to go back to therapy. And I might be going back into psychotherapy depending on how bad it is, because when I have depressive episodes, I notice that I binge a lot. I eat a lot of junk food. I'm off. I just barely got back into working out and stuff like that. And I wasn't as consistent. At first I was consistent, but then when I had that depressive state, it doesn't mean to just, sit and wallow in it. That's why I had to pull myself out the best way that I could. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine and said, don't allow yourself to get to that point You know, and it's and I'm gonna be real with you, we can't really say we can't allow ourselves to get to that point, because depending on the individual and what they're going through, you like I said, it requires a lot of patience, and it does require a lot of treatment. So if you know that you are going through this and you really want to help yourself, therapy is the number one thing that is going to help you. Being able to talk to somebody and having therapy sessions and having a therapist that relates to you and someone that you can actually relate with, because not everyone is going to want to tell people about their problems, because 95% don't give a fuck, and the other percent glad that it's you. I'ma just be real, because a lot of people don't want to hear about other people's problems or what you're going through. And sometimes if you want to be a friend, or you want to be a good, you know, significant other, or just be a loving family member, it's always good to talk about these type of things. That's why a lot of us people who go through depression, we don't talk to people and we isolate ourselves, because we feel like people don't care about us. Unexplained physical problems such as back pain or headaches. Now, that's something I really wasn't noticing, but I noticed that my C3 and my C4, which is the lower end of my back, because I have kyphosis, it was hurting a lot, and I also started to develop a lot of frequent headaches. Okay, now we also do have depression symptoms within teens and children. In younger children, they have sadness, irritability, clinginess, worry, aches, and pains. So if your child is having these type of things, or refusing to go to school and being underweight and not eating, it is really best that you go and take your child to see a therapist. And teens, sadness, irritability, feeling negative, worthlessness, anger, poor performance, poor attendance, feeling misunderstood, extremely sensitive, recreational drugs. This type of thing, like going back into euphoria. That's something that Rue was suffering with as well, because of the loss of her father and the things that she already was going through. And that alone triggered her, and she ended up doing recreational drugs. She ended up doing drugs so that way she wouldn't have to think about what was going on in her life at that time. So she had depression. She was suffering from depression, and she also had bipolar disorder as well. And if you go back and watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because when you look at the symptoms and you look at how, you know, one of those episodes, she was manic, she was bipolar. Then another one, you saw how depressed she was and how she felt. And whenever she did drugs, she felt better, because at that moment it was like a quick high. Like, I'm high, I don't have to think about nothing, I feel good. But then once the drugs were out of her system, she had to go back and come back to reality. Okay. So also in older adults, it affects memory, such as myself. I am 25 years of age. Physical aches, pains, fatigue, loss of appetite, as well as sleep problems, loss of interest in sex. Those are the type of things not caused by a medical condition or medication. Wanting to stay home rather than going out. Now, while I was depressed, even though I was going through depression, I still got up and went to work. I didn't want to go to work because I wasn't feeling at my best, but I forced myself to get up to go to work, and I decided to push myself. Sometimes we have to push ourselves even at our worst moments, and when we feel like we can't get there, it's like, you know what, let me continue to push myself and at least try. Okay, guys, remember, everyone's going through something. Okay, we all go through something. It's not easy when being depressed, but understand that if you push yourself and just go little by little, I promise you will start to see a change. And also go to therapy and write out how you feel. If you don't want to write it out, scream it out, you know, whatever, get it out. You know what I'm saying? And therapy that's why they say is the number one go-to thing. Suicidal thinking, we already said that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the difference between sadness and depression. And this is on this website. You can find this on www.heretohelp.bc.ca. Once again, www.heretohelp.bc.ca, baby. Okay. Sadness is a normal reaction to loss, disappointment, problems, or other difficult situations. Feeling sad from time to time is just another part of being human. In these cases, feelings of sadness go away quickly and you can go about your daily life. Other ways to talk about sadness be feeling low, feeling down, feeling blue, okay? Feeling depressed, but if it goes away on its own, it doesn't impact life in a big way. Depression is a mental illness that affects the mood. the way you understand yourself, the way you understand and relate to things around you, it can also go by different names such as clinical depression, major depressive disorder, or major depression. Depression can come up for no reason and it lasts for a long time. Key word, depression can come up for no reason. You do not have to